Mr. Kathleen,
Present.
Mr. Quadro, Dr. Spencer Robinson. Here. Mayor Ciara. Here. Dr. Bonner. Here.
And we have the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The mission statement.
The mission of Smith Vocational and Agricultural High School is to provide students with an education that equips them to be professional adults with a high level of expertise, knowledge, and competence in their field, creative and impactful members of their chosen vocations in their communities, and effective communicators who value diversity of thought, experience, and cultural backgrounds.
Thank you. Is there any participation by the public this evening? Hearing none. Participation by trustees.
I spent the afternoon at the Collaborative for Educational Services as a member of the Executive Director Search Committee, where we reviewed applications for the position. We'll hold our first round of interviews on January 7th and 8th. Then the finalists will be interviewed by the whole board on January 14th. We expect to make our selection following those interviews, then make an offer and negotiate a contract, which will be presented to the board for its approval at the January 28th regular meeting.
Good evening, Mr. Quadro. May I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the November 18th, 2025 Board of Trustees meeting?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Where does this go?
I'd like to introduce Mrs. Shear, our IT director, for a brief presentation on what's going on around campus with technology.
I have a little slideshow up here. Okay, so thank you for having me. I'm trying not to take too much of your time. If you have any questions as I go through this, feel free just to jump in. I have no problem with that. While I go through this, I'm also going to be kind of going back in time as well from when I started about 13 years ago to kind of give what we started with to where we're at. We're going to focus on just five different kind of subjects: access to technology, network infrastructure and security, workflow and efficiency, district upgrades and enhancements, and then some accomplishments and recognition. So student and staff access to technology. This has changed a lot. When we first started, we had Novell system, which is like a predecessor to Windows. And we moved from that to a cloud-based system, basically Google Workspace and Extreme Networks. So what that did was it removed our need for expensive on-site servers, and it minimized associated risks of data loss if there was a crash, any hardware issues, which we did have before we made this move. And it takes a long time to get back up and running after we lose thousands of files and have to wait for them to get restored. And then it allows convenient and secure 24/7 access to all of the files on and off campus. So that's for students and staff. We'll be able to access any of their stuff. And then we upgraded our computer labs and established a sustainable one-to-one Chromebook environment. We're actually more than a one-to-one. We have more Chromebooks than students because of this method, but it allows every class to have a Chromebook cart, basically their own lab. And then it also supports our digital curriculum and our classroom ed tech needs, which is every day there's something new, it seems, providing students with personalized multimodal learning options and repurposes old computer lab spaces to classrooms. We did have, I want to say, 4 computer labs, not including the 2 in D building, that we're able to move into a normal classroom space because of this change, which is pretty important. And then another big thing that we were pushing is laptops for staff rather than desktops. Kind of disconnects them from their classroom and their classroom desk and allows them to move around, which then encourages mobility, collaborative spaces, and fosters flexible learning spaces. So sometimes we can even see teachers out in the barn with their computer rather than stuck in the classroom trying to show a video or how to do things. So then the next one was network infrastructure and security. So basically the wired network, it started with a very limited capacity distance from this main hub here in A building. And then also just capacity in general of how much network traffic it can handle and clients, as well as speed. We also had a wireless network when I first started. It was really outdated with about 4 access points. I think it was just an A building. It could handle maybe 20 clients per access point and only about 50 feet from that access point. So it was the beginning stages when we first started here. And then digital security, more than just your normal digital security on your laptop, but also cameras and access control management and end user protection. So the first cameras when I started here about, again, 13 years ago was kind of like a VHS tape quality. And I have a few slides that kind of show the improvements there as well. So this is our wired network technology. As you can see, this is kind of like the before. This is an older one. It's even cleaner than that now. But we did a complete overhaul in each building, reconnecting, reconfiguring server racks, hubs, switches, patch panels, wiring. We moved up to a Cat 6E and 8 in some spaces. We also upgraded fiber, not just between buildings, but inside buildings as well. And that increases speeds to 10 gigs plus, which before that would be lucky with 10 megabytes. So that's 1 gigabyte is about 1,000 megabytes. So if you do the math, it's a huge upgrade. We also upgraded from a lot of mismatched hardware to something more uniform. So all of our network switches and all of our access points are all the same product. That way we can manage them remotely and repair them very easily. So our extreme network is all the hardware that controls our point-to-point traffic. And then we have our FortiGate, which is our firewall and router, which kind of serves as our central hub or like the heart of our network. That keeps our network very secure, having the 2 main systems like that work together. And it keeps our schools CIPA compliant, and it enables us to be able to monitor user traffic, usage, violations, through all these reports, alerts, and custom scripts that we can build within it. This is kind of a little insight of what I can see on our FortiGate, and it shows all of our traffic and everything from every specific network. Like this one is just our cameras, and it can show when, each day it gets really high in traffic because it's triggering cameras. So our traffic will spike, but it's during the school day, so I can monitor if it's spiking too high or not. And this kind of is an overview of our network as it kind of is now. Before, there would be probably half of what's here. This kind of just shows a building and how the network comes in, and then how it goes to all the other buildings throughout campus. We replaced a lot of the coax cable that was here when I first started, which is super slow, and then moved to high-speed fiber, and we actually are still moving to fiber. We're replacing this line here currently to 2 lines to be able to feed more of the traffic, so there's no bottleneck. We also increased our internet speed from 30 megabytes a second to a gig, which is also a huge increase. We did that around COVID time, and we monitor every day to make sure that's what we're using, and we get right up there. We're very high traffic with all the Chromebooks and internet usage right now. We've upgraded the inter-building fiber connections and network equipment to improve throughput and latency, reduce latency. And then we've extended to a bunch of these different buildings here. You can't even see the newest building. But we have all these new network connections here. So we can actually have cameras and access points, network connectivity throughout the barn, throughout the greenhouse, and then all around here as well. Because these new ones have a lot further connection than 50 feet that the old ones had. For example, when they were doing construction here, I was able to keep these buildings connected by going wirelessly between here and a building. So it has a pretty good distance. And I didn't need to have to basically say, sorry, there's no internet to this whole section anymore.
So are the connections between these buildings, are they wireless or are they physical?
So they're all physical fiber lines.
And are they above ground or underground?
Underground. Yep, and that's what we're doing. Right now we have one that feeds this big hub here. And what we're trying to do is get two, one that goes here and one that goes here. That way we separate them and then there's no bottleneck.
Yeah.
If it's wireless, that it doesn't have that, you can't do as much with wireless because it only has so much bandwidth.
Right. So who installs those for us?
So I have it in one of the slides, but we do ourselves between me and our electrical students.
And they like digging the trench?
So a lot of the trenches are already done, but the electrical students have done that. Chris might be able to help with us. Yeah.
Yeah, we've already identified the conduits that we're going to use to go ahead.
Can't hear you, Chris.
Sorry?
Can't hear you. Come up front.
So
Please.
we've already identified the conduits that we're going to be using to run that fiber to go ahead and help with the bottleneck. And we did that, I believe it was like a week and a half ago. Took care of that. So.
Yeah, we work with a lot of the shops to give the kids a lot of hands-on experience.
Yeah.
It's a little bit slower, but at the end of the day, it's much better. I mean, we're able to kind of walk them through how to do things, and they seem to really enjoy it.
That's great. And in my mind, underground that's optimal placement for it because it's high winds and also
Yeah. So for example, before we got our own connection like this, we actually had a connection over here to the city network, and it was above ground. And that's what connected all of our phones. And at one point, all of our phones went down. We had no idea why. And we had no documentation of how to find a connection. Long story short, and a week later, we found that a squirrel chewed through the fiber line right up here. And that was a huge thing. And if it was underground, we wouldn't have this.
Thank you.
So this is another wireless technology.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Sorry. Underground, what provisions are made so critters don't get into the conduits? I assume everything's sealed.
Oh yeah. That's all sealed. Actually, Tim or they might know a little more specifics on that, but we do have them all as underground with all the other cables through conduit. That's all protected. So wireless technology. So we've enhanced our wireless technology, 3,000, or they increased it by 3,000% as far as speeds by replacing and adding necessary infrastructure. So this is kind of a map of how I configure. We can't just throw the access point into a room and say everybody's good. So this will actually show where, a heat map of where, if I was to put the access point here, where is going to have the radio profile interference and through all the walls. So I had to configure each wall to what type of wall we have, the height and everything, and then each access point as well. So we've installed 120 access points to achieve near 100% wireless coverage. And whenever somebody says they have weak signal, I can actually go in and turn up this access point to be able to feed, say, like this hallway that might not have much, be able to feed that better. So it's just kind of a little glimpse into, this is another one here, how we can kind of manage and configure our network now that we have 120 access points and not just 4. And this is another glimpse into our Extreme Cloud IQ network management instance. So I'm able to configure, troubleshoot, monitor our entire network anywhere in the world, anywhere I have an internet connection. I don't have to be on campus to do that, which is really nice because if I'm at home and there's adult ed program going on, they say, hey, I'm in D building, we have no wireless. I can jump in here and be able to figure out what's happening and what's going on. And things like this does happen. I mean, we have 6,000 unique clients a day. So clients is like a device. And we push 34 terabytes of traffic through all of our networks and support 15 plus OS devices. So it really opens us up to allowing multiple different devices anywhere on campus, basically whatever students and staff want to do. We try to tailor everything to their needs. Digital security. So digital security goes beyond just the data protection, but now it's more of the physical protection. We've installed a Vigilant Access Control Management System, which is basically the key fobs. So we have a server on campus that we can control everything, configure everything. When we go down to the specific times we want the door to be able to accept any fobs. And then we also have the Vigilant Unity security camera system, and it's kind of a little view of what we can do and see. That is also hosted locally on a server that we can configure and be able to pull information from when needed. And then on top of that, we also have the radio communication systems. When I started, I think we had 2 or 3 here, and now we're up to 75. We also have a repeater communication station, and we work with the FCC to make sure that we are compliant with all of our licensing and our digital frequencies. And we're soon to be upgrading to digital radios as well. So
You don't have to go back to the previous slide, but my question pertains to that. How do we get to 6,000 devices with, 600 students, however many students we have, plus the staff? Is it like every device that has any kind of internet accessibility?
Yeah.
Wow.
So like an Apple Watch, that'll count as one. You got to think of one kid who has a watch, a phone, and a laptop.
Right.
There's 3 devices there, and then we have, we have 25 Chromebooks in each room.
Yeah.
If we have a projector that can be connected, that also counts. It adds up really fast.
I guess
Yeah.
so.
And then if you have people coming in and out, we have guests coming in and out.
With their own devices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's 6,000 unique daily. So they could be next week. It could have, or next day, it could have 5,000 of those, but then another 1,000 might be new.
Right.
Wow. So there's a lot of traffic and a lot of chances for
Corruption.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you.
So some workflow and efficiency upgrades we've made. So starting with the digital paper forms, we're still doing this, individually redeveloping and digitizing paper forms on FormStack to improve workflow, automation, and turnaround time. I've also been building custom applications and adding code to existing programs to kind of fit our unique needs, because we have a lot of, we have 15 different shops and academics. It's like running 15 different businesses and a school. Not to mention adult ed and everything else. There's a lot of these customized needs. So I'm able to jump in and do little coding like this to be able to make things work. When somebody says, hey, can we do this? Rather than going out and buying a whole product for it. And then testing and classwork, everything's becoming more and more digital. So we have, Blue Book, MCAS, AP testing, and a lot of your normal classroom work is all being done digitally on Chromebooks for the most part, which is something very new from 13 years ago when I started. And some other upgrades and enhancements we've done. Media systems. We've designed and implemented media systems in the cafeteria, gymnasium, and the football field. They had some, the cafeteria had a little bit before, but we've upgraded everything since then. The website is have been rehauled a few times, but we're able to do that on campus with staff and students who we don't have to hire out for that, which is a huge expense. And we're able to edit it as needed. So if somebody says, hey, we need to remove this sentence, I can jump in and do that. We don't have to wait to submit that to somebody else for them to do it. And then the front sign, that was a huge project over a few years to be able to get that done. I love that one. And we're able to monitor and, push out updates as needed. And then some other ones, copiers and printers. We've upgraded the library system here, our help desk system, and even the cafeteria system. Some of them never even existed before, and we've implemented them.
And the live streaming of events.
Yes, live streaming of events is a huge one.
Very much.
Yes, yeah. So some accomplishments that as a department we've been able to make is from signage and curriculum to vending machines and digital paperwork. Technology departments across educational institutions have seen this increase of everything being changed over, like things that normally don't fall under technology department are now becoming part of the technology department. And there's no solution or application or product or idea that's ever set and forget it. If I, install a camera, it's install a camera, but we also have to manage, configure, maintain. It's kind of a never-ending thing. And here we have a picture. Here's our electrical students a while ago upgrading our access points. And then down here is one of the partnerships we've had with Tech Foundry, which I believe you guys connected to. We're actually up to 65 interns that have gone through our department, which has been huge and very helpful for us. And we collaborate with a bunch of other shops like electrical to give them that hands-on experience. And I'll explain a little bit about those on the next page. There we go. That's interesting. So because of the work that we've been doing here on campus and because of all the work that has been seen, we were featured twice in EdTech magazine. We've also been featured in Dell case studies and published articles and recognized in Extreme Network publications. And I've presented at International Society for Technology and Education conferences, basically because of our challenging and unique, school that we have here. People have seen that and kind of, said, this is actually really interesting. Tell me how you do it. I've had schools come here just as a visit and they ask, how do you guys do this? Because I've been wanting to do that, but haven't figured it out. We just have this environment that's allowing us to do these interesting and unique things.
And you're wearing the vest.
Yes. So right here also, because of the work, LG has reached out to us before. I've become an LG educator and I work closely to highlight, the work that we do here and how they can help us, which is really interesting to be able to do that. I presented at the city of Northampton with the high school as well on FormStack. And I've been invited to serve as a professional stakeholder member at a computer science stakeholder council. So this is all the work that we've been able to do here. I've been able to kind of produce this kind of interesting design of how the network will run in a school system like this. Not just in a school, but also in the barn. Not many schools have that. Not many businesses have that ability to be able to be in two different kind of places at once. So thank you. I just threw this in because I always love this because the IT world is kind of like an iceberg where you don't really see a lot of what's going on. But if you have any questions, please feel free.
Yeah, my question was going to be, and you'd covered it already with the previous slide about where do we rate with, our competition in a sense. And sounds like we're cutting edge.
Yeah, I honestly, like the conferences I go to, my main goal is to figure out what's the newest thing out there that can benefit us. So we're above that curve of learning how to use it. Like other schools would be like, hey, how do you do this? I like to know how to do it beforehand. Like I want to know, is this going to work for us or not? The last conference I went to, I worked with a lot of the simulators there because it was just like this new cutting edge thing where you don't need to have somebody in a bucket loader. You can have them sitting down just like the ones we have down there.
Right.
It's honestly, I go to other schools as well just to visit what they have and see what they have. And we're always like above the curve.
So you haven't found one of these schools that you went to and say, hey, I didn't think of that?
No, I do. I definitely do, because it's almost impossible to get everything.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
usually see something like if they're using a different kind of camera, I'll be like, oh, how did you install that, or does that work better than a normal one? Always looking for different ideas to kind of improve and basically try to make my life easier by having a better product up there.
Great.
I just want to say, Josh, for the 15 years I've been here and watched you grow your department with Mr. Cotton, this is amazing. This is just amazing. I'm glad that we've been able, through our budgets, to support you, to be able to get you the equipment that you need to make this all happen. We know we have a wide open campus. The security by the radios, the fobs, the things that you've installed to protect kids the best they can for an open campus is amazing.
Thank you.
Mr. Brown only has 2 feet and a little bit more. So I appreciate everything you've put together with your staff. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Well, thank you for your
Thanks,
time.
Josh. Awesome.
Thank you.
So no student reps tonight, Joe?
No, right now we're in basketball season, so
Okay,
depending, it's gonna be difficult for Don to be here, but.
you can go right in your report.
All right, thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. I just want to recognize Josh. Josh and I probably collaborate daily on different stuff, and I think sometimes I might be a little annoying because I'm asking him to find solutions for stuff, and he may say, I don't think that it happens yet, but he always figures that out, and he looks for different things, and he's able to put stuff together. So he does great work, and we're lucky to have him. So we are at 589 total students. As you can see, our application total is high year over year. We're at 228, about 30 applications ahead of last year at this time. 53 or 23.2% from Northampton. Again, that's a high number by about 10. I think we just caution ourselves on what that means. After all, our applications are closing a month earlier. So some of those applications might have been pulled forward by families and maybe not. So we'll have to look and see if that trend holds of being above average. But you can see all the way back through 2020 there. We did place freshmen into their final shops. You can see the numbers there. Last year, 8 programs filled. This year, 9 did. That's good and bad when I report that. That means usually that there's a few shops that are much lower. But if you look at it year over year, which I did not put on this document, but some of these shops filled last year, and then this year they're low. They're at 4. But the year before they filled. So I think it's important to remember that a lot of this is student interest driven. And some of it is driven by what they are capable of being in. So depending on the semi districts that they are. So I wouldn't look at those, even though I report those numbers, I'd caution anybody to look at those numbers and place judgment on any particular shop as maybe not performing, because there's a lot of different factors that go into placement. School council, we did meet. We're starting to draft those the school improvement goals, and we did do a survey that we reviewed that went out to staff, students, and parents, and we're still accepting feedback on those forms. We're not going to close those forms, but we went through and looked at that feedback today to start to categorize potential school improvement goals that we'll put forth. Budget is due this Friday, so the departments are working on their budget templates, and that's due to Crystal and I by this Friday. We'll go through those individual department requests, and we will have a team that meets with department heads. That team is myself, Dr. Lincoln Hoker, Josh if technology is involved, and then it would either be Melanie or Mike depending on if it's academic or vocational. So if it's on the CTE side, and we just sort of vet all those. Crystal, of course, is there. And we'll vet all those requests, make sure we understand what they're asking for and how. And then we'll build that as the budget with Dr. Lincoln Hoker, and then that'll ultimately get sorted out and presented to this board. Toy drive, we did a toy drive again. We did do it in a unique way here, and I think Dr. Lincoln Hoker brought that in. So it's really more of a collaborative effort. So we have students, our staff, they jump in and decide if they're going to be part of that secret gift exchange. And then we pretend like we're buying the gift for each other. So we try to buy something we think they would like when they were a child. So it's usually based on what their interests are or who they are. It's a good thing because if you don't know the staff member that you got, you have to go learn about them. So it's definitely helps with learning about your colleagues and collaboration. And then you unwrap it and you get to see it, and then we donate it. So it's a fun exercise. This year, over 50 toys were donated. We did hire a vocational assistant and health assistant that she'll start on January 5th. And I want to highlight next month, I will talk about this. In February of 2020, right before we closed for COVID, the Board of Trustees authorized the Alumni Honors Program, which is basically the Alumni Hall of Fame. So we've been very delayed in implementing that, but it is a goal of mine this year to get it up and get it running. So I'll present on exactly what was approved by the board, so you all can see that. And in January, I'll be asking for a Board of Trustees representative or their designee to serve on, to represent them on that Alumni Honors Program Committee, which is comprised of superintendent as chair, myself as vice chair, Board of Trustees member as a representative, 2 alumni, staff members. So it's all prescribed. But I'll present that and answer any questions specifically on that next month. But I can, pending your questions here tonight, that's my report. Yes.
I have a couple questions. Did you participate in the Secret Santa toy drive?
I don't. I always just donate a toy because I'm the one who runs it. So I would know who had me. So I just opt to give a toy.
I would have asked what the person bought that
Yeah.
they thought you would. Do you buy a toy?
You can ask. I buy a general toy and
Not
donate
one
it.
that you would have played with as a young child.
No, not usually. No.
Just getting it to your site.
But Dr.
Yeah.
Lincoln,
Yeah, right?
yeah, Kristen Lee, did you? No, but Crystal did and Andy did, so I'm sure they could tell you what they got.
What did you get?
A jewelry making kit.
Oh, nice. Dr. Lincoln Hubbard?
John Deere tractor.
Okay, nice. That tracks. My next question is about the school improvement plan.
Yes.
I don't expect you to be able to tell me who's on the school council off the top of your head, unless maybe you can tell me who's on it. But could you, is that posted on our website, or could you send me a list of who's on the school
Sure.
council?
Yeah.
And what their role is?
Yeah, we have 2 parents, Jean Dabrowski and Elena. Of course, I'm gonna draw a blank now.
That's why I didn't want to put you on.
No, that's okay. Lynch. And then we have 3 students, Lauren Brooks, Tom Cable, and Kate Wolcott. And then we have 2 teachers. One is Chris Kelly on the Vogue side, and the other side is Steph Whitley.
And then you.
Correct. And then we have the assistant principals as advisory members and Mike Parks.
Okay, excellent. And thank you for that.
Yeah.
And what was I was so pleased to see you send out the survey to staff. I think it went to staff and families. And
There was one that went to staff, and then there was another one that went to students, and another one went to parents, but they were all very much parallel
school
in the
school
questions that they were
improvement plan
asking.
Information collection.
Yep.
Yeah, love to see that. That was great. What was the response rate like?
Students was higher than staff, and staff were higher than parents. But like I said, we're leaving it open, and we'll send out reminders and still collect data.
Great. And I'd love to see those numbers when you share with us the results.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Hold on, Mr. Chairman, before you move on, I got another question for Josh.
Great.
What do you have for support staff besides the school?
I mean, I have like a small group of people that I talk to for specific technology help needs, but not any. I mean, it's myself and Tim, and then we reach out to departments like electrical for help with that. But it's really the networking with, at conferences, be able to talk to other people and get ideas and solve problems that way. Is a huge asset.
Okay, and you feel you have adequate support, or do you feel you need an assistant?
I mean, I'm never going to say no to that. We're making do with what
You're making do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always something, that's new that needs to be done that, there's never a dull moment. So.
Great, thank you.
I have one more question for you, Mr. Bianca. Just looking at the ninth grade placements, can you remind us which are the shops that that students from other districts have the least chance of being able to enroll in? So the ones that are hurt the most by sending districts having comparable programs?
Sure. So it definitely depends on the community that you're coming from. So there's a lot of overlap, but if I was going to do a Venn diagram around shops, you would see that manufacturing, culinary, horticulture might be hit the hardest as you went through the list.
Okay, thank you.
So moving on, your committee reports, Julie?
For the D Building Strategic Planning Subcommittee, Dr. Lincoln Hooker had an informational meeting, so it wasn't a formal subcommittee meeting, on December 8th with Jay Berry and George Frost from the Massachusetts Association of Regional Schools, or MARS, which member Quadro and I joined. We reviewed some minor revisions to the scope of work, discussed the timeline in more detail, and identified key stakeholders in the Smith Folk school community at large for Jay and George to meet with.
Thank you. Tim, facilities?
So we had a little delay on finishing up the slab down there, but we finally got it poured last Thursday. Because we were so late into the year, we ended up having to put some supplemental heat in there, keep the soil from freezing, and then just give it a chance to cure. Stripped that all off Monday. Kids were setting up their staging today. So I think they're gonna start once they get back from break, just get everything set up. So we've been having a lot of problems with the paging system, or more or less the bell tones. The scheduling hasn't been working. So walked through today with the project manager who's going to replace everything on the 29th and 30th of this month. And hopefully everything is resolved when they come back, everything comes back. Been working with MDR on the 5-year lease for the hayland out by the jail on Route 66. He just likes to come out, look it over, questions about any concerns we have, issues. But it's pretty routine. And over break too, we like to start replacing some of the pneumatic valves in this building. There's some other city initiatives to fix the heating system, but if these valves don't work, all that other work doesn't mean anything. So hopefully over break, we'll get the 4 classrooms done here. And then when the kids come back, our plumbing shop can do the main office area, because most of those are shot. So, and then we'll just keep expanding.
How long is the hayfield lease?
This one is 5 years. It was, for some reason, it was never part of the big state hospital lease. They kind of missed that when they first went out.
So every 5 years you need to renew this one?
Yep.
When you're coming up from, say, the community gardens, you go up the hill, and you know, what I call Sunset Hill on the left.
Yep.
Are you talking beyond that where the compost piles are?
If you come out of the jail, that big
Okay.
field, that 30
All right.
acre field across, and there's 2 smaller fields just south of that.
All right.
On the side of the road.
That was not part of the hospital hill.
No, that was MDR's. Dropped the ball on that. So that went for years just under the radar, and then they just, 5 years ago, Barbara tried to straighten it out.
The pages.
Barbara's still involved?
Yeah, she's on leave right now, but she's still there.
Thank you.
In regards to the paging system, Tim, I guess this is a question with Josh too. How is this not integrated with our IT in a sense? Why is this?
So the old system was old. It was like before we could actually integrate it into our networking system. The new system, I believe, is going to tie into some of the older like speakers and everything.
Yep.
So you can't really connect. Well, I mean, we can connect some of it. We're going to be able to connect to our network, but it's not like if we were doing a brand new install to everything.
Right, because a lot of our stuff is still wired, hardwired.
Right.
So it'd be a big project to change.
Expensive and big.
But you can adapt the system we're having. You can make it so all the shop areas have radios and they can talk to the main office. But you could building if you wanted to. You could make it so they could talk to the speaker in the room and talk right back to the main office. It has the ability to upgrade somehow. But it's sort of a hybrid system between what we had, and what we're going to.
Thank you.
Thanks. Crystal?
Sure. As Mr. Bianca indicated, the FY27 budget development has begun. So I've been working behind the scenes, getting just the foundation set. So when I do meet with Mr. Bianca, all of the numbers that I do know are pre-populated, so we have a better idea of where we stand. I'm also working this year on a budget timeline just to help. I think I'm more of a visual person as well, so I think that would be helpful for others as well to see what our timeline is. I'm the cafeteria nutrition procurement review scheduled for January 14th. All of the required documents have been submitted through the DESI portal. We have not received any other requests, so now we just wait for the review. Last week, I met with Dr. Lincoln Hoker and we went over the new overtime rule, just discussing just some of the nuances of this one big, beautiful bill act. So Dr. Lincoln Hoker and I thought it might be in the best interest of everyone if I sent out a memo just explaining it, just because some people might not be aware. As an employer, we don't have to provide the employees that qualify in 2025 on their W-2. The IRS has waived that. So as of 2026, we will have to start coding it. I have been working with the HR director from Northampton to have this set for January 1st and training my staff. So it's definitely a bit confusing, but we'll get through it. Other than that, that's all I have.
Thank you.
It was a helpful email that you sent out, and even reading it and seeking to understand it, I have a sense of the complexities that you're faced with.
And that's what we thought. We thought that even if it didn't affect you, if personally, you might be able to read it and help someone understand it as well. So that was the purpose.
Yeah, smart. Thank you.
Thank you. Superintendent's report.
Yes. Good evening, everybody. So I believe the packet is in the package if you wanted to follow along. Otherwise, it's up on the screen behind us as well. So a few topics that we've been talking about. It seems like every single month we're going to continue to talk this month with a few updates. The first one is around the admissions policy and updates around that. So last Monday, I had the opportunity to meet with the mayor, finance director, and chief of staff. And I just wanted to bring the team up to speed as far as what is happening around the admissions policy, the potential negative impact on the city, on NPS, on Smith Vocational. And I think we had a great conversation. Just making sure that we're all on the same page, we were consistent. I also broached the subject around the setting agreement, which we'll talk about momentarily. At that particular meeting, we were also notified that the Department of Ed was reaching out to set up a meeting with the same parties. So we actually met on Wednesday, December 10th. So the same team, the mayor, finance director, chief of staff, myself, met with representatives from the Department of Ed. And it was an opportunity for the city to advocate to the department on the potential fallout, the negative impact, if we were forced to take all of the Northampton applicants over anybody else. What would that mean for the city, for the public schools, and for Smith Vocational? sort of through that dialogue, we sort of brainstormed and shared out what we're calling a sort of a short-term, a mid-term, and a long-term solution. And I'm not sure if any of these solutions sunk in with the Department of Ed, but we tried our best. The short term was what I just mentioned. It's these local setting agreements with seat allocations. And I'll get into more of that in a couple slides. But the idea behind that is we are unique. We're an independent vocational school. We were based on a will. In that will, there's 8 communities that were outlined and highlighted by Oliver Smith. And the idea behind these local setting agreements is that perhaps we target those 8 communities and try to be consistent and offer them seat allocations. And that would help protect what we've been doing all along with the city of Northampton. So that's sort of the short term.
What are the 8 communities?
I'll reference that in another slide.
Okay.
Yeah. Northampton's one of them. So this idea around the local setting agreement came to us through legal counsel that we have. I've been working with through Colby's office, but it also came to us through some advisement from the Executive Office of Education. So we thought this might be a viable solution, at least to get us through the here and now. The midterm solution is looking at legislation, which I'll show you in a minute, trying to update the legislation to clarify what that relationship is between the city and the school. That, I think, there was some positive feedback, I believe, from the Department of Ed. There were definitely a lot of questions around our history in collaborating with our local legislators. So I think they were interested in that. And right now we're working on arranging an actual meeting with the legislators to talk about what would that look like. You know, what is the process to update that legislation? I'll show in a minute. And then finally, long-term is a potential governance model change. And that sort of dovetails into the work that Mars is beginning to have. But I think we all understand there is no necessarily vision as far as what is the end result for that governance work. And I think everybody realizes that work is going to be a multi-year process. So how do we get through this year? Hopefully that is the local setting agreements. If the department accepts that, what can we do for the next few years? That might be the legislation update. And then finally, if we do look at the governance model change, that might obviously solve the problem long term. So I wanted to share with the board, I know it's a little difficult to read on the screen. I'm not sure how well it is in your packets, but these are some documents that I shared with the city and I shared with the Department of Ed to try to make our point. And this first one is a letter. There's only one of you that was part of this particular letter back in 2013. This was November 20th of 2013. This was a letter written by the Board of Trustees. It was sent to Jeff Wolfson, who was the deputy commissioner at the time. Now, many of you are probably familiar that the UMass Donahue Institute was commissioned by the Department of Ed to conduct a big study. And that big study was to really investigate the school, what is our governance model, and what were some potential governance model changes that might benefit the school in the region. This letter that you're looking at was the letter from the board that was sent to Jeff Wolfson that then spearheaded that commissioning of the study. So I shared that with the Department of Ed. And the reason I shared that with the Department of Ed is, again, the question is, who are we as a school? Are we a municipal district? Are we a regional district? And this is the argument we're having right now at the state around, are we mandated to take all of the Northampton students over anybody else? We would have to take all of the Northampton students over anybody else if Northampton is a member district of Smith Vocational. And our argument is Northampton is not a member district of Smith Vocational. We're not a municipal vocational school. What is a municipal vocational school? That's a Westfield Tech, that is a Dean Tech, that is a Chicopee Comp. Those are vocational schools that support that local community. We are not part of the Northampton Public Schools. We do not fall under the Northampton School Committee. We're also not a regional voc tech. A regional voc tech, you have members. And my argument is you cannot have one member. If you have one member, you need to have a second member. That's how you make a regional agreement. So we can't have only one member be in Northampton. There is no regional agreement. And this letter outlines it. And I try to highlight some of this, and I share this with the Department of Ed. I just want to read for the audience and for the record the second paragraph. This is, again, written by the Board of Trustees to the Department of Ed. As you are aware, Smith Vocational's unique status as an independent school that is neither regional nor part of a local municipal school district has been a source of discussion and debate for decades. While SVAHS effectively operates as a regional school serving students from communities across Western Massachusetts, it is disproportionately dependent on its home city of Northampton for capital funding of facilities, shop and farm equipment, and physical plant. And then the letter goes on and on and on. My point with the Department of Ed is this letter was accepted by Jeff Wilson. This letter was accepted and actually was the sort of the instigator to create the commissioning of the study. So the fact that the deputy commissioner accepted this letter tells me that they accepted the fact that we are unique. We are an independent school. We are not a municipal school. We're not a regional school. So if the Department of Ed accepted that fact, that point as a fact in 2013, they should accept it as a fact in 2025. So we try to make that argument. I just want to share that with the board. That's evidence piece number 1.
And you're going to further elaborate?
More? Yes. So this next one is an email I received from Tom Delmar. Again, he's legal counsel within Colby Brent's office. And I just highlighted in the current admissions regulations. This is 603 CMR 4.036B. Okay. It does allow an admissions policy can include a cap for seat allocation if it is included in the local agreement. The regulation identifies that if there is a local agreement among sending districts concerning seat allocation, career technical education schools and programs may run a lottery for each sending district, consistent with the seat allocation requirements of any local agreement. So again, this is the point that our legal counsel is making. This is the point that our advisors at the Executive Office of Education that they've been making. So we shared this with the department last week. And there was pushback, and I understand the pushback. The pushback is the purpose of this language was to support the regional VOTECs, who have a regional agreement with multiple members. And in many, not all, but in many regional agreements, they have seat allocations. It's part of the regional agreement. You want to sign this regional agreement, you're going to get 5 seats, you get 10 seats, you get 12 seats. And the regional VOC schools were able to advocate to DESE as they're updating the regulations that you can't go against our local regional agreements. So that's what the language was, is why it's written the way it's written. But we made a point to the department, nowhere in that language does it specify regional VOTECs. Nowhere in that language does it talk about member districts. All it talks about is a local sending agreement with sending districts. It's very vague and it's very global. So yes, we don't have a regional vocational school. We don't have a regional agreement, but we do have sending districts. Now, why can't we have local sending agreements per the regulations? So we made that point. The legal counsel that was on that meeting was the same legal counsel that was at our first meeting that Mr. Bianca and I had back in October. I'm not sure where they're going to go. Okay. We were told at the end of the meeting, please tell me if I'm wrong, the mayor, they want to have a decision. I was supposed to hear a decision this week from the commissioner. This is now Tuesday, but I've also been told I would hear by the end of whatever week. We're going on 2 months. So fingers crossed that we'll hear something relatively soon. But so this was another piece of evidence I shared with the Department of Ed. The next slide dovetails into, and this is what I'm asking the board to vote on, at least in theory. This is a template local sending agreement I drafted. I kept it very, very general. This might be a good template to use. You actually have a clean copy in your packets because you'll be voting on it later. So the idea is, and again, under the recommendation that we've received at the state level, we need to really rely on the will. And back to Mr. Quadro's question around which communities we referenced that at the beginning in this letter. So the question I have, and I've been talking, is I'm not quite sure. Obviously, Northampton is the clear and present issue, and we need to solve the Northampton issue. The state understands that we may not want to pursue those other communities that you see listed until we get the green light from the Department of Ed. I think it is premature that I reach out to these communities and we offer this local setting agreement to those local districts, those other districts, just to be told by the Department of Ed that this is not allowable. I think we're opening up a can of worms. So I'd rather not go down that road right now, talking about those other communities. But right now, this would be tentative local setting agreement with the city of Northampton. So we talked about the will, we talked about how we're an independent vocational school, and then we get into how the local setting agreements are allowed in regulation. And then we were basing the seat allocation on the 5-year average, the past 5 years. What is the current population of those particular communities? So for Northampton, that would be the 30 seats that we've been talking about. If we go down the road of those other communities, I have those numbers as well. A point of reference, if you added up all 8 communities and all the seat allocations I would propose, it would be 55 seats that would be allocated to these 8 communities out of a potential 150, if we used the average of the last 5 years. Another complicating factor, just to be full transparency to the board, again, as you can see from the will, those 8 communities, 3 of them are in Franklin County. And as we now know, Franklin County Tech was not in existence when Oliver Smith was writing his will, but Franklin County Tech is in existence, and they have a regional agreement, and they actually do support all of the communities in Franklin County. So that would be a discussion that we'd have to have. Do we even approach those 3 communities that happen to be in Franklin County because they're already a member of Franklin County Tech? So we have to work through that nuance as well. So we shared that. The next slide, next page that you see is the current legislation. This is section 24 of chapter 74. Chapter 74 is all of the vocational ed regulations that sort of tell us what we're doing and how we're doing it. Section 24 is specific to Smith Agricultural School, the maintenance and superintendents. And this is really the $1 million question. And this is why we're in the position that we're in. So this legislation was written when the mayor and the Northampton superintendent became part of the trustees. This was around when the school was really floundering financially. And this was a way to provide some financial support, that financial steward from the city. And in our eyes, that is what the city is. They are a financial steward for Smith Vocational. They don't oversee the school. They don't run the school. And I highlighted sort of the phrase, I shared this with the Department of Ed, but Smith Agricultural School shall be maintained by the city of Northampton. How do we operationally define shall be maintained by the city of Northampton? It does not say it's a member. It does not say we're part of Northampton. It's simply we are maintained by the city of Northampton. And then it goes into, talking about the 2 additional members of the Board of Trustees. So trying to make the point to the Department of Ed, maintained is that financial steward. They are that backstop when it comes to our budget, but beyond that, there's no official membership. So I shared this. This is tied back to that midterm solution. This would be working with our, Senator Comerford, Representative Sabadosa, and the rest of the legislation to update this. My recommendation would be it could be a simple extra line in section 24 that says, through all of this, it does not constitute Northampton being a member of Smith Vocational or something along those lines. So this is the section that we're working on for that next level of a solution. Any questions on admissions before we move on to the next level of task?
I have a question. I don't know if you know this off the top of your head, but how many Northampton students are not apply and are not ultimately offered admission to Smith Voc? How many in this?
I don't have that number up yet.
Because for me, that's an important number to have. If it's a small, because I understand the fiscal consequences of, to both districts. If there are many more students from Northampton who are offered admission and accept and enroll with a new admissions policy than in years past. But I would want those concrete numbers because that can inform my thinking. I understand, if it's 2 or 3, if it's a very small number,
It's about 50%.
That's different from like 10 or 12. I also understand that with the new admissions policy in place that's lottery based, that is an unknown factor. It's an unknown variable for us. So, but I would like, if I could have those actual numbers, like for the last 4
Yeah,
years.
I can get you the concrete. Last year, for example, there was over 60 applicants and we took 30. So, and if you think about it, we had about 250 applicants from outside and we took 120. So it's about 50% are now coming in, regardless of the group that you're.
And I mean, not just at the initial admission process, but as the summer goes on.
Like any turnover. No, that would be the number. Yeah, I'll get the concrete numbers. But for example, last year.
So we have 100 and there are 120 students from Northampton. That's
125.
125.
Yep.
Now, but we don't know how many. So, okay. So you're saying that every student that was offered admission accepted it?
No, but ultimately about 65 applied last year and 30 are here.
Right.
So at the end, wash out over the course of the summer of the amount that approximately half enroll.
So your question, Dr. Spencer Robinson, just for clarity.
Yeah.
How many did it take us to get to the 30?
Right. So
How many are left?
if 60 applied and 30 are here, but to
Yeah.
get that 30, of the 30 that aren't here, your question is, did 20 of those 30 say thanks but no thanks?
Yeah, exactly. So how many are left at the very end? If it's like 2 students who wanted to, from Northampton, who wanted to come here and couldn't ultimately,
Right.
that is different to me than 30 students.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think it's
Yeah.
definitely a sliding scale because you just don't know how many you might have to work through.
That's,
And the wait list would take care of that.
that's why I want to, like, I'm sure we have.
They would
numbers
have an existing wait list.
from the last 4 years, just to see like, okay, what, right, exactly, how
Yeah.
many were left after. But also, just to be clear, understanding that we have a whole new variable and we don't know how that will impact us.
Mhm.
Yeah. And it has consequences for both districts that are, significant. Thank you.
So that long-term solution, talking about the potential governance change, sort of leads into, again, separate topic. It is a separate path. I don't want the board and myself to begin to sort of mix the two, but as we can see, everything in life is related. Let's talk about the Mars feasibility study. Some of these topics have already been addressed this evening. But just looking back on November 20th, Mr. Quadro was able to set up a meeting with, why am I drawing a blank, Mr. Quadro?
No, Diane Sullivan.
Who works for MSBA. She's one of the liaisons. So she had a meeting with Mr. Quadro and I, just kind of quickly walking through the
Diane
process.
Sullivan.
What would it take, starting with an SOI, a statement of interest, and then how did that whole process play out? And at the end of that meeting, I think the consensus amongst the three of us, submitting an SOI, you do that once you know who your financial partners are, who would be potentially on the hook for a building project. So obviously at this point, we have
Way
no
too
idea.
early.
Yeah, so it is way too early, but I think it was a good meeting, it was good fact sharing. So that happened back in November.
And creating a relationship.
Yes, which was excellent. We already mentioned, Dr. Spencer Robinson mentioned last week, we had sort of this planning meeting, consulting meeting with Mars, looking at the scope of work, looking at that schedule, identifying the communities and the superintendents that we want Mars to reach out. So we worked on all of that last week. Last Friday, I was back in the mayor's office for the third time. Felt like the principal's office. Where we had the first official kickoff with Mars doing the work, their roadshow. So Jay Berry and George Frost from Mars, our two consultants, did meet with the mayor, the finance director, and the chief of staff, along with myself, and sort of talked about, what are the issues that are facing Smith Vocational. We did talk about what would a regional agreement look like. Again, very, very high level. And it was an opportunity, and I was grateful for the officials at Northampton to ask them very direct questions. There's a lot of stuff to ponder, and I don't envy the mayor and the city. So I know Mars asked the city to take a couple weeks and kind of reflect and then give that feedback, because that feedback won't only be coming from Northampton, it'll be coming from the other communities as well. And all of that feedback will be in that final report that will be given to the board in the springtime. So that's what we're looking for. And that's what, as a board, that's what you're looking for. What are the cities and towns feeling? What are they looking at? What are the options? And then, again, not envious of any of you, some big decisions to be had at the end of the school year. So again, that meeting happened last Friday. The next step is happening this Thursday. So part of that planning meeting, we've identified 10 area superintendents who are superintendents of either local municipal districts or regional districts that have communities that we felt were some of the largest segment districts that we have here at Smith Vocational. So I sent out an invite to 10 superintendents for a Zoom meeting. And of the 10, I think we've had four or five have confirmed that they will be in attendance. There's, I believe, 2 that may show up. One was extremely interested. She wants to be involved, but she's not available. She's on a plane. So I think we're going to have, out of the 10, I think we're going to have well over 50% that are actively wanting to work through this. So that first meeting is Thursday. The goal of that isn't necessarily to really get a whole lot of feedback from the superintendents. It's more just letting them know the work that Mars will be doing for Smith Vocational. The superintendents know their local communities better than us, so they're going to be able to give the information to Mars as far as who should they talk to. You know, are the people at the select board level, city council level, school committee level? So they'll make those connections, and it will give Mars a direction as far as when they reach out starting in January to go to those local communities. So that's happening on Thursday.
Which districts are those? That are the superintendents of which districts at the December 18th meeting?
So the 10 that we identified, you want to know, or
the ones who are
those who have confirmed?
Yeah.
Would be from Hampshire Regional,
yeah.
Gateway,
yeah.
Hatfield, Worthington,
yeah.
Hadley Cannot. I believe there's a couple others that, knowing who they may show up.
And Hadley is the one that's interested but unavailable.
Correct.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. The next step is part of this planning process, and Mars has done a good job a couple of times talking to sort of the subcommittee on if the board ever decides, you know, we have partners for a potential regional agreement. One of those first steps is to consult with DESE and let DESE know that, you know, there is maybe some interest around a regional agreement. And Mars really recommended having an early meeting with DESE. Nothing formal. It's more of an FYI. This conversation is happening. And so Mars reached out to DESE. We have our first meeting. It's going to be next Monday, is the 22nd, just to broach the topic with the department. So that's happening next Monday. So that's the next step. So as you can see, Mars is definitely, you know, they're hitting the ground running, which is good.
That's what we were hoping for.
Exactly. Moving on, still instructional leadership, just another side note. As we all know, the state is working on updating the graduation requirements and competency determination. So I want to thank MASS, our professional association. They hosted a webinar with Secretary Tutwiler and Commissioner Martinez back on December 3rd, sort of outlining what the proposed requirements are. And they received a lot of feedback already. So we'll see where this journey takes us. But that first webinar was on. Under management and operations, just a couple quick updates. Horticulture project, tree planting. As you know, we received, I think it was 55 trees, 30 trees, I think it was, I forget the number. Donated by Wanzik Nursery. So thank you to Wanzik. And I want to thank Mr. Onspach, who is sort of spearheading the planting of these trees. So I made an update tonight because I received an email from Mr. Onspach late this afternoon. So I knew the plantings had begun, but as of this afternoon, the plan is he's going to finish planting the trees by the end of this week, which was great news. So I don't think that's in your report, but it's on the slide behind us.
Isn't the ground frozen?
So not yet. He said, luckily the snow actually is helping us act as an insulator, which is great. But despite that, I think our next plan, once these trees are planted, we get through the winter, we reassess in the spring. Where are we? What is the caliber of trees that we have planted? And at that point, do we decide to plant more, or do we just cut our losses and submit a fee to the city for whatever that balance happens to be to meet that regulation? So more to come with tree planting. As far as the indoor climbing tree, we finally have a chain fall. It was finally installed last week. And so back to now the next step is to get the tree and bring it down from the forest and mount it in what we call the Christmas tree stand. And now that we have the chain fall. Unfortunately, there's some staffing stuff going on. So we're looking at the install happening in January. So it'll be after the break. But progress is being made there. And if you didn't know, we had a snow day on December 2nd. First of the year. Same in community engagement. Various things have been happening over this past month. So I work at the state level with the MIA. City Councilor-elect Stratton was on campus back in late November for a brief tour. As Mr. Bianca said, one of my highlights is the toy donation. That was just an amazing day. It's always fun to watch grown adults opening up toys and laughing, having a great old time, and obviously benefiting children in the region. We had a MAVA Board of Directors meeting in early December, and then this past Friday, maybe a couple Fridays ago, I'm losing track of time here.
Yeah.
We had our monthly CBSR luncheon, and that was a great opportunity to bring Kristen Lee and all of the other admin assistants. I think it's great just for the admin assistants to meet one another, to build those relationships, and I think we can all stand behind the notion that our admin assistants do a lot for us, and that's the least we can do is bring them to this wonderful presentation, wonderful luncheon. So thank you, Kristen Lee, for all you do.
Reminder, refresher, Connecticut Valley Superintendent's
Roundtable.
Yes.
And how was the meal, Kristen Lee?
It was very good.
Where was it?
At the Delaney House.
Nice.
Professional culture. So this past Friday, Mr. Bianca, Mr. Parks, and I attended an AI workshop. It was actually up at JFK, so right up the road. It was put on by NEAC, and I just want to thank NEAC. You know, we can have our own professional opinions about NEAC, but one thing that they're trying to do are more of these one-offs, free. Okay, I want to underline free PD opportunities for administrators and staff. So this particular one was put on by Kristen Smith, who will be here tomorrow. But one of her colleagues, who's another associate director of NEAC, his name is Carl Johnson. He's a former high school principal down in Connecticut, and he's sort of become this savant when it comes to AI, sort of self-taught. And he did a great job, sort of exposing us to various AI opportunities. And one thing, and I've been to several AI workshops over the last few years, one thing I really enjoyed about Carl, one thing was we had to bring a computer. And the second thing was we actually had to use AI. So that's the first time. I've been to sessions where I've been taught to, and I've been shown AI on a smart board, but this was the first time at a session where we actually got into it and practiced it. One example he had, I chose to do, speaking of the Board of Trustees, he had a YouTube video of a school committee, a school board, someplace in the country, and he had the PDF document for their agenda. So those two files, it was an agenda and it was the YouTube video, sort of the recording of that video. And I had to use AI, put those two files through, and I got professional, accurate minutes produced from that video and that agenda within about 2 minutes. It was amazing.
Which AI was it? Copilot or?
I was using Gemini
Gemini.
or ChatGPT, so either of those. So that was just one example. He shared other examples talking about one issue that we have here locally. We have policies that live in many different documents, and I think we've seen this, where we may have a policy in your Board of Trustees policy manual, we may have it in the student handbook, we may have it in the faculty manual. And as the board updates a policy, what happens if we forget to update those other publications? So there's a way through AI, you can actually put all those documents into AI, and it will begin to analyze and compare and say, wow, one of these policies is out of place, which would allow the administrative team to make sure that we're not forgetting that we have a policy that we forgot to update. So it's just another example that we can use AI to our advantage. So it was a great morning. It was a half day. The afternoon I spent in the principal's office, aka the mayor's office. Donations, I want to thank Mint, who donated various woodworking materials, legs and dowels to cabinet making. All of this material will be used by our students on various projects.
Who is this person? They affiliated with a cabinet shop of some sort?
I don't know. Great question.
Okay.
Looking ahead, tomorrow morning, we have our first GAC meeting. This was again postponed from a couple weeks ago due to the weather. I already mentioned that tomorrow, again, due to that same weather, we postponed Krista Smitty's tour. She'll be here tomorrow for a short presentation, a tour, and a lunch. And then as a reminder, next week is a short week. We have December break that then runs through the following week, and we'll come back on January 5th. Speaking of January 5th, it's your Northampton inauguration ceremony down to the Senior Center. I have a board of directors meeting for MAVA later in the week of that first week we come back in January. Speaking of the SVAHS luncheon, the next one is on January 9th, and Ms. Fairman will be joining me. The presenter that day is the executive director of SVAHS. Okay, so it'll be a great presentation there. On January 19th, there's no school. That's Martin Luther King Day. I have another MIA meeting, and then that evening we'll be back here for the Board of Trustees meeting. Myself, I'll turn it back to the chair.
So under new business, may I have a motion and a second to approve the updated graduation requirements, policy number IKF, discussion, possible action?
So moved. Second.
If I can just
Go ahead.
explain the why. So most of you probably recall you did just update the graduation requirements not very long ago. So I apologize for this. So one of the requirements that the Department of Ed has, all the districts have to submit to the Department of Ed their graduation requirements, their competency determinations. But not only this particular document, there's also a laundry list of questions that they want us to fill in. So I was in the process of doing that. And one thing that we noticed in the graduation requirements, the regulations state beginning with the class of 2027, U.S. history, it has to be part of the competency determination. We didn't have that specified in this particular graduation requirement. So initially we thought it doesn't pertain to this graduating class. We can just wait for next year. We can update it. However, at the beginning part of the graduation requirements, we do talk about the class of 2027 and their graduation credits that they need. So because we were referencing a requirement for the class of 2027, we thought it would be clearer, and hopefully we wouldn't get any pushback from the Department of Ed if we just added the CD identification for U.S. history. That language, as you can see, mirrors the same language for the science CD, the math CD, and the English CD. So that's the only other addition. And with this, I can then finish that work with submitting this to the Department of Ed. And I just wanted my soapbox for one moment. It's very frustrating the amount of hours that our admin team has spent on this, the amount of hours policy subcommittee has spent on all of this. When you also just heard that the state is working on statewide graduation requirements and CDs. So I think we're going to be back at this probably in another year or so. So I thank the board, but that is the why. It's a simple addition just to make sure that we're being clear with the state.
Question, CD class?
Competency determination. This is all in response to question 2 when we voted down MCAS as a requirement.
So we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none. Take it to a vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next one, may I have a motion and a second?
Before there's a motion on this, can we have a discussion? Because I want to suggest a different motion, if that's okay. Do you want to lead off or?
Are we talking about the next one?
Yes, the agreement.
No,
Okay, we are obviously very interested in entering into agreement. The city solicitor would like to spend more time looking at the language. He'd been involved in 2013, and so he wants to look at it a little bit more. We're a little bit worried about the term sending district. So we want to spend more time on that. But, I'd be happy to move to authorize Dr. Lincoln Hoger to enter into an agreement with the city of Northampton with language to be finalized regarding the maximum number of students from available, or maximum number of seats or slots available for Northampton students.
I'll second that motion.
We'll do vote on it.
Yep. So we have a motion and a second to approve the local setting agreement with the city of Northampton. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Approval?
Aye.
Aye.
All right,
Thank you. Future business, December 16th, regular Board of Trustees meeting. My golly, it's today.
hold on, Mr. Callen, where are you?
At the end, but
Yeah, well, it says
June?
January 20th. You said December 16th.
what now? The next thing is January 20th. Today was listed all there also.
No, it's not on this.
January 20th, 2026, Board of Trustees
Yes.
meeting at 5 p.m. On my copy, it also had tonight.
Okay,
That's
that's what
where-
confused
that's where-
me.
So February 10th, 2026, regular Board of Trustees meeting in the library.
Okay, thank you,
Okay.
sir.
I think we're there. Make sure my copies. Oh, future events. No, we're all set there, right, Andy? Because those were on my copy.
Yeah, those are.
I got a special
You
copy.
got a special version? sir?
Yeah. I don't know why, but I did. Okay, so future events, December 24th, January 2nd, December break, January 5th, City of Northampton inauguration, Northampton Senior Center.
10
What's that?
a.m. 10 a.m.
Thank you, that's what I was asking.
Yeah, I was gonna have to look that up, but thank you.
Is that very brought up? January 19th, Martin Luther King Day, school closed. January 21st, early dismissal, afternoon staff PD. Personal day.
Professional development, I know that one.
January 22nd is our academic CTE night. Right?
See,
Oh, that's
CTE,
the
that's the vocational
instructional.
night.
Vocational night. Okay,
So it's my privilege to make a motion that we adjourn only if you promise to have a wonderful holiday and a break.
ho, ho, ho.